Hey all, Hipper here. So today let's take a look at my 3 favorite cruisers at Legendary tier, and they are of course the Colbert, the Minotaur and the Moines. So I've done another stat extract, so let's see which one of these cruisers is actually the best one, at least in my hands anyway. So first of all, don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, like, share and comment of course. I'm sure we'll have some comments on this one. Alright, let's start out with the Moines, because this is probably the most boring of the 3. It's an extremely powerful ship, and it's one of the only ships that I don't run an agile build on, because there's just no point. This ship here is supposed to be bow on most of the time, and just use that, you know, awesome DPM to whittle down whatever it is you're shooting at. It doesn't matter if it's destroyers, cruisers or battleships. This ship has less than 4-second reload on 203mm heavy cruiser guns, so it's just an awesome DPM machine. And I mean, it's hard to, you know, do anything against a ship like this, because it can just pump out the damage so quickly that even most other ships, they just have to well, call it quits basically. And I don't know if this ship is going to get nerfed. I think it could probably survive with another second on the reload. I don't think that would hurt anybody. It comes with most of the tools you need: radar, sonar and heals of course. And the only thing it's missing really is torpedoes, but that's, you know, a classic for the American line. You don't get that. It's not so much of a problem on this ship, because the way it has to be played, it doesn't really mean that you get into that many brawls in it. And if you do, you can just reverse out and use your DPM to pretty much win the engagement anyway. So let's look at the stats here. And this is 190 battles of me playing the Moines. The majority of the battles are played with a Sure Lane Montpellier here with an anti-dispersion build, which I think works perfectly on this ship here. So you can see, as a solo ship, it's really powerful. It's a 64% solo win rate, and in a division it's just ridiculous. It's 88%, and I believe it's more than 90% now. Average damage is also extremely high at 92,000. It's a little bit higher in division, but only by 1 or 2,000 I think. Average frags 1.2, that's pretty standard. Average XP 1850. It's pretty much in line with the other legendary cruisers, except for one, and we'll get to that later. Now remember, this is not the XP you see in game, it's the actual base XP without any modifiers, and it only exists in the extract Excel sheet, so you can't see it in game. So in game it's higher than this number here, just so you know that. Solo spots 1.7, that's really high. Division spots 1, because you usually play with the destroyers, you don't really have to spot yourself. Average aggro or incoming damage just under 1 million, and max aggro 2.4 million. So that's the Moines for you guys. And with that, let's move on to what is probably the most fun ship to play at the legendary tier cruisers, and it is of course the Minotaur. It came out around Christmas, and it's been my favorite legendary cruiser ever since, because there's just no situation this ship here can't handle. The DPM is amazing, and you've got radar, and you've got sonar, and you've got an incredibly powerful heal. Plus, this ship is also really agile. It's almost as agile as Colbert, and you also get the improved acceleration on Minotaur, which actually makes it the most agile cruiser at legendary tier in my opinion. Minotaur is probably also the hardest cruiser to play at legendary tier, especially if you do what I do and you go with an agile radar build, because I mean, you have to have eyes on every finger when you do that, because you can be deleted in a second if you're not careful, and if you don't know exactly what's going on everywhere on the map at every point in the game. So definitely the most difficult legendary cruiser. If you play it with smoke, it's far easier, but I don't think it has the same impact on the battle, so I don't ever use smoke on this thing here. I don't think it's worth it. DPM, excellent. Has no HE, so don't forget that. This is an AP cruiser only, which also adds to the difficulty, because you cannot just, you know, set fires. and get your damage that way. So with Minotaur I have way more battles. I have 452, and the solo win rate is 62%. That's a little bit less than Des Moines, but only a tiny bit. Win rate in a division is 84%, also like very high I think, but it's just such a powerful ship, especially in a good division. Average damage 75,000. I don't run damage build on it, I run radar build, and of course that's primarily targeted at destroyers, which don't have a lot of hit points, so that's the explanation for that. Average frags a bit low actually. Average original XP 1800, so like 46 less than Des Moines, so that's like pretty much the same. Solo spots 1.9, almost 2 ships. So if you can show me anyone else who spots 2 ships in a Minotaur on average in their solo play, please show me. Division spots far less, 1.1, and again with just like Des Moines, that's because I usually play with a destroyer in the division when I play a division, and then they usually get the spots. Average aggro, yeah, 750, that's the lowest one in the bunch, and max aggro at 2.6, that's also just around the same as Des Moines actually. Alright, let's move on to the newest of the bunch, and it is the Colbert, and it's probably the one most people will think that, oh, Hipper loves this ship and it's his favorite ship, and yeah, I do like it. I prefer Minotaur by far as a more fun ship to play, and also Des Moines actually, I do prefer that more. It's a little bit more boring to play, but you do win more battles in Des Moines because of that radar. That's the problem with Colbert, it doesn't have a radar, and it really limits the usefulness of the ship here to just setting fire to other ships. And you know, as fun as that can be, especially with an agile build, it's a lot of fun. It's quite ineffective, and like, I really think this ship should have a radar, because when I play it, I struggle to figure out what my role is. And in situations like the one here in the video, where you're getting pushed in a cap by, you know, in this instance here, 3 battleships, it's very limited what you can do, because you cannot burn down 3 battleships quickly enough to actually, you know, keep the cap, and you don't have torpedoes to take them out. You can use your 32mm armor like I did here, but it's only going to save you for a little bit, especially when the enemies are, you know, surrounding you. Like in this case here, sooner or later I'm going to take a hit from somewhere where I can't use my armor, and the armor on Colbert, it is 32mm, but compared to something like Edinburgh works much better. So in these cases here, you're going to have to just assume the role of the torpedo yourself, and that's just a little bit disappointing. I wish the ship here had some torpedoes, honestly, or a radar at the very minimum. Alright, let's look at the stats for Colbert here, and I've added up my battles in the real Colbert and the rental Colbert, because it's the same ship. So in total that's 171 battles, and my solo win rate is 60%. It's probably the lowest legendary win rate, and I blame that on the fact that I don't have a radar. So in those battles where the destroyers play well, it's hard, unless you have another good cruiser player on your team, it's really hard to make a difference. Division win rate 75, but I only played 4 games in a division, so I don't really count that one. Average damage 87. In a division I believe it's 90, so it's just a little bit less than Des Moines, and just keep note of that, it's less than Des Moines. Average frags 1, also quite low. XP almost 100 lower than Des Moines and Minotaur, and I have noticed that when I play the ship, I think I get less XP on average, and that has probably to do with the fact that it's harder to engage destroyers in this ship here. That's my thinking anyway. Solo spots a meager 1.4, because like I said, pushing in this ship here is really difficult because you don't have any up close defenses, and you don't have a radar, so it's really no point to push really. Division spots 0.9, very very low, and average aggro is 1.1. That's a lot higher than the other two, and that's something else I've noticed in this ship here. And it could be due to the fact that only CCs have had access to the ship in the past few weeks, but this ship seems to get focused a lot, just like a Targo pretty much. And I can even prove that, because if you look at the average aggro, it's 1.1. That's nearly 200,000 more than Des Moines, and you know, what's that, like nearly 500,000 more than Minotaur. And also if you look at the max aggro, most aggro I ever got in a game is 4 million. That's nearly double the other two ships. So yeah, getting focused in this ship here is definitely a thing. That could also have influenced the results here, because when I compare the results from the last 2 weeks with the results from when this ship was available for rental in Christmas, the Christmas stats were a lot higher than the ones in the past 2 weeks, and I think that's because no one else had the ship, and when people saw it, it just got absolutely focused. But anyway, I'll do some more experimentation on that. Alright, let's look at all three ships here, and as you can see, one thing that stands out with the Colbert is the lower win rate, actually not that high average damage, lowest average frags, lowest average XP, lowest spots, highest aggro by far, by absolute, like, huge numbers far. And also Colbert is probably, like, it's not as fun as Minotaur, but it's almost there. Minotaur is the most fun ship, the most fun cruiser you can play at Legendary tier, that's for sure. And if you look at the stats, it's also very impressive stats for the ship here. Des Moines, if we look at that, it's slightly better than Minotaur, and especially in the damage department, it just does more damage than my Minotaur, and that makes sense because I have a damage build on my Des Moines. I don't have a damage build on my Minotaur, like I said before, because Radar Minotaur is all about ambushing DDs, and yeah, you don't really need super fast reload and all that stuff for that. Spots in Minotaur, the highest, Des Moines just a little bit behind. Aggro in the two ships, Minotaur is much less, and that can also be easily explained by the builds, because like I said, I use an anti-dispersion build on Des Moines, so obviously I get a lot of shells hurled my way and they just don't hit me. But in Minotaur I play more carefully, I use more cover, and of course that way I get actually less shells coming my way. Colbert is the winner by far there, because the way I play it is like open water, HE spamming, more or less. And obviously everybody that's in range of you will fire at you, because 1, it's super annoying, 2, I'm a CC, and 3, the ship is new and fancy. So, you know, I usually split the ships up in carry potential and fun factor. And if I have to pick the most fun ship in this bunch here, it's the Minotaur by far. And if I have to pick the best carry ship in this bunch, it's Des Moines, with Minotaur a close second. And then overall, if I have to pick the best ship out of these three, it's a hard one, because Des Moines is the better ship, but Minotaur is just so much more fun to play. So I guess it depends. If you value fun over carry potential, then Minotaur is your pick, or the other way around, then Des Moines is your pick. And Colbert is, yeah, I don't even think it's in the top 3 of the best cruisers at Legendary tier. So let me know in the comments what you think, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you out there.